Goj in roughly, I would say, maybe 12th down to 19th that could have a standout game that rockets them up into this top 8. They've just got to be able to execute on it.
No, I couldn't agree more. This is incredibly unsurprising standings currently because these are the teams that were last alive in the first and second maps, right? It's pretty simple. Most oftentimes when you're last alive, you're finding eliminations along the way, but you're also finding placement points. The only exception to that rule is Team Moonride. Now, they play a little bit of a slower, strategic kind of play style. With only 10 placement points if you get first place, you've got to find some more eliminations if you want to creep your way into the top 10 or so. With all of that being the case, we're going to take a look at the team at the top. The total of somewhere around the neighborhood of 59-60 points as predicted. Huskerrs team somewhere around 41. So the gap has been closed fairly dramatically, but still a nice sizable lead for a hyper-aggressive team. And speaking of hyper-aggressive, one of the other teams inside the top 8, Joewo squad, here for a bit of blood. And they would love to grab it against the team that's at the top to continue to stop the bleeding. That is our first place lead of Team Sage, the team on paper that should walk away with this event. He ate himself by accident. Not a bad strategy when you're getting pushed. Gonna force some of the other opponents to back off, but at the same time can't help out your teammates.
Can't help them out. Well, just trying to keep yourself alive at that point as well. Shifty now trying to make a play here, and well, all he does is get taken down. War's ready and waiting, and about as easy of a kill as you could ask for. So we swing into one of our first Gulag showdowns of the day. I think that's Intex on the other side of things here against Tomster. A 1v1, which will be big for them to try and get out of this alive. If you can win those Gulag 1s, that easy point on the board, it really helps to not stunt your momentum in the early game. But both of these players slow and steady toward the middle of the map, and it's Intex who isn't able to get out. Gulag victory here for Tomster.
Can I give Tomsterbaum his flowers, by the way? Tomsterbaum on Team Smixy, this team in particular, has had a ton of success recently in customs and really found their groove. The trio, which is Echo, Tomsterbaum, and Smixy, have been joined by AB Wiz, which is a fairly prolific EU customs player that has found a sizable amount of success specifically in customs. So a great addition. But this trio, they've been doing fantastic recently as one of those somewhat kind of underdog teams. But in all reality, it's Al Mazrah. Is there really an underdog team? Maybe everyone besides Sage's squad at this point. I don't know. Still, gotta give credit where credit's due. They're inside the top 5 today currently, and likely will finish there at the end of this event if things continue with the success they've had over the last couple months. So I'm excited to watch that squad continue to compete. But another team that, of course, we mentioned a number of times, prolific EU Warzone players, FIFA Kill, Jukis, and Lennon, joined by Oki, who is another prolific customs player. It seems like the kind of common strategy across the board, which makes a lot of sense, is a number of pretty, aggressive trios that have played a ton of tournaments together. They're just picking up a fourth who's really good at customs. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent idea. You'll have the communication and the flow already there. That player most likely going to kind of take your lead in whatever those comms are and provide you that insight for customs if you're maybe lacking in that regard or not as comfortable as them. Swing over Sage in the Gulag. Can you make your way out? You already had one amazing game, the gold standard game, and one that not so much, most likely will be a drop. You can't afford to have 2 in a row if you want to have a comfortable hold on first place through the first half of the tournament. Throws out a snapshot, nothing there to see, waits for the player over the top, gets the shots in through the wall, no problem for Sage, right back into the action. A nice win.
Katie, I'm no Warzone professional, but I've seen a lot of Warzone in my day, and it's very clear that Sage's side of the Gulag is a stronger side of the Gulag. Most oftentimes, they're going to win when it's 2 fantastic players because you can wallbang the other heady. Like, use it, try to get the early shots, but if you start getting shot, if you're Sage's opponent, relocate, run away. That spot can be wallbanged. They all know it. You can't compete. That is so frustrating to watch people continually die to that heady spot. Relocate and try something else. I don't know what is happening right now when you are losing the gunfight and choose to ego it. It makes 0 sense to me.
You answered your own question at the end of it, Goj. You can't back down from the ego chow. Once you've committed, you have to commit, and it might not pay off. It might not be the smart decision, but we're not here to make smart decisions. We're here to world star people. Just doesn't always work out. Biffle using those smokes to rotate a team nearby as the train provides a little bit of cover. Trying to figure out exactly where they are. I think more shots going out. One player in King was downed. Not a ton of eliminations yet, but they are stabilizing. A much better early game than what we saw out of them in map 2, which kind of was a revive simulator, a rotating regain, right? They never got stable through the remainder of the game, but now in a much better position, especially with those loadout weapons, those perks, going to make all the difference.
Yeah, especially if they want to stay at the top of the leaderboard right now. Second place is averaging about 20 points per game. They're averaging about 30, so they're looking great. But they need another very strong game because they would like to drop this 10-point game they had in during the second map eventually. In worst case scenario, they drop another 0. They're going to have to score that 10, and they're going to be just fine. But they're just tracking down some opponents that seemingly are free eliminations. One falls named Soy Sauce, and we continue on our merry way. And this is kind of the mantra of this team. They hunt down players that maybe are missing a few teammates, just stray animals out in the wild, and they put them out of their misery. That's how they score a lot of their points, and it's working thus far. So we'll see if they're able to continue to do that as they are continuing to loot, find whatever they can to set themselves up, and go find some more players. UAVs, whatever, recon drones, anything you can find. Gain information, hunt down those maybe solos or duos.
A lot of players, it seems, don't always have the patience to want to use a recon drone, but they usually pay off very effectively when you do. Also, pays off effectively when you can find a gas station that hasn't been looted yet. Always going to net you a nice amount of money and other utility. Case in point, all these players with more than enough cash, not only for buybacks, but for other viable uses that they will need to hold on to. We'll see if Sage splits up some of that money through the rest of the team, but a good position so far for the team sitting in first as we have one squad fully eliminated. Not sure who that is, but it's always got to be tough, Goj. You're the first team out. You know you're just sitting there in a custom. You're just watching for a while.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're kind of just like, all right, GG, go next. Like, we could drop that map. Hopefully it's not been the only time, or hopefully it has been the only time we were last in the lobby. And you just kind of have to move on. Mental fortitude is really a lot when it comes to customs. Like, you have to have that mental fortitude in order to find success. There's a lot of times where you have one really bad map and it totally throws you off for the rest of the tournament. Great players will be the ones that can move on from bad situations and find success in the next couple maps without letting their egos get in the way. But something else I mentioned, Katie, as we continue to watch this perspective is that, you know, we talked about how cash is king. These guys are royalty. They have a lot of money across the board. We've got 17K, one player 8K with the second player 9K, 20K. They've got a lot of money to work with. Of course, you can only buy one UAV from each buy station, but could certainly continue to buy munitions boxes and everything you need to continue to use your smokes for your rotations. They find Blade earlier. They knocked him and then potentially tried to use him to gain information on his squad. Blade, of course, the EU World Series of Warzone winner. So a very strong player that unfortunately is getting bullied in the lobby, but hopefully they can find success in the second half of the tourney.
And I think they might have seen someone out to their left. They swing here into the mall to check out who they can find. But yeah, Blade, I'm sure, not overly keen on giving up too much information. Says, I'm going to give up if you don't kill me here. I'm not going to tell you nothing. I'm not going to give any sort of call-outs. Goodbye. But it also seems like this team in good spirits. What are they? Oh, you can't keep picking on them. There we go. Once again, you're going to get some of those final death comms. I think this is back in time, but poor Blade.
You had a little bit of Irish heritage come through there, Katie. You had a little bit of luck of the Irish. That was great. Yeah, this is honestly, this is one of the things about this team that is so fun to watch, is not only are they on paper the strongest team, they also have incredible vibes across the board. No matter what happens, they're going to be having a blast. Yeah, they've won a lot of tournaments in the past. Yeah, they can be really intensive. Here's that heady I hate, and you never win from that heady. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
That's the third person we've seen lose, to your point, on that heady.
Exactly. But vibes are everything. So if teams can keep up their vibes, whether it's going well or whether it's going poorly, that's going to be key to your success today. I've mentioned that a couple times now. We're going to see what Echo can do. This is Smixy's teammate in the Gulag fighting off against Nobu Spartan, who was another team that was inside the top 8 just barely. So this is a crucial win. You can get it. Going to go for the flag and force the fight, and unfortunately misses the shots. Goes down. That's 2 out for Smixy squad at least. it's not great when you're vying for our top 5 positions.
No, not great indeed. And Nobu actually just kind of holding steady in that position out of that line of sight for Echo, and then just waits on the flag push, and it pays off. So nice patience as we swing back over to our first place team. Biffle on your screen with 2 eliminations, and now 2 full teams eliminated overall from map 3. If you're just tuning in now, we are at the halfway point in Destroys Drops 10K. The team in first place on your screen with an incredible 49-point map 1, looking to have as strong of a map 3 to ensure themselves a placement finish in the money. The top 5 taking a part of the $10,000. Let's swing over and see, can you get out alive? This is going to be Hisoka versus Oki. And looks like not too keen on going on to that dangerous heady, staying far away. Obviously listening to you, Coach, knew how to play it.
Look, maybe I'm listening to Hisoka, right? This guy's the most winningest player in Al Mazrah history thus far with almost 60K earned. And of course, you can take it for a bit of information, but if you stay there, bullets are going to come flying through it. So Hisoka's going to make Oki play the aggressor stance. Flag cap potentially could be in play, but he would know because of the Molotov. He takes the heady. First person to win it. Great shots from Hisoka. Catches his opponent unawares and wins the gunfight. Gets first shots. Usually you win when you get the first shots, and that was exactly the case there in the Gulag. Honestly, again, there's such small nuancy things we can pick up from these high-level player POVs. Throwing the Molotov on the flag early was not because he thought Oki was there. It was to designate and give him information if Oki pushed. Because it was overtime, the flag was open and active. If Oki went for the flag cap rather than the elimination, Hisoka would know because there's fire on the ground, and he would get those damage ticks on his screen. Very 5-head and heads-up play wins the gunfight at the end and proves me wrong at least slightly.
Yeah, you talk about what are the other uses for lethals for things like streaks. You're not always going to be using them with the intention to kill someone. It's either information gathering, gap closing in the terms of streaks or otherwise. So a nice play out of Hisoka, very patient as well, and it pays off. But we swing over to Skullface in a little bit of a pickle here. Half the team full wiped, and well, only enough money to get one of them, and a tough place to be in. I don't know if they can really feasibly get to that buy station, considering the way Skull's playing. I'm sure he has a feeling at least someone is nearby, and there you go. You can see that ping. You're going to have to back off to a better location. So we swing over Skullface. I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to, my old eyes, I think that's what, 3 eliminations, Coach, to his name so far?
3 elimination. We've got Breadman still alive, staying patient. And Skullface, a fun player to watch, has honestly coined a couple different strategies through the course of Warzone's history. Was one of the first players back in the day during Caldera to actually coin the big gas mask rotations and using munitions boxes with stims to stay alive in the gas and make some of those crazy plays. One of the first to be able to do that, and it kind of set the tone for the way Caldera customs were utilized, which was super cool to see. And likely we'll see a lot of fun strategies come ahead, with Warzone 2 still being in fairly infancy stages for the most part, and Skullface being kind of newer back into competition again. Looks like Breadman was able to grab a buyback on one player. Might have been Foreign Jace, I'm not positive, but waiting and watching for who is next. And wow, was waiting and watching and somehow didn't spot out the violent shots from the right-hand side. Skull in trouble, is going to have to relocate and back off. And there's another enemy over here, and he might have known it, but doesn't win it either. Didn't have full plates, and that's Brolic on the other side with Z-Smith, E-Bates, and DJ Moss. You called them out at the very beginning of the broadcast, Katie. They've been fairly sleepy, but it's a big take and a big win.
Huskerrs team, second place right now, roughly about 18 points behind Sage's team. And it does feel like there's a massive opportunity between about second place with Huskerrs team and 11th place to see any sort of amount of variability in the leaderboard. A lot of opportunity for these teams to get into the money or climb back into it if they were there previously. I think Ebate's team going out of map 1 was in like 3rd place or so. So not a bad spot. Huskerrs, no eliminations. We'll need to find some sooner rather than later. Plenty of players left in the lobby as we get very close to placement points coming into effect. One more team needs to be taken down for placement points to start. But we'll swing up Huskerrs on top of, well, he called it out. I don't need to. Getting the lay of the land, coach, seeing if they can find anyone. Does have a ping over toward their right, but I think maybe just trying to isolate a player here and get a safe kill as they watch that rotation come in.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's a great call because those safe kills will add up over time. I mean, that's the freest elimination I've ever seen. Unfortunately, Huskerrs can't really catch himself on the edge correctly and may lose some in the process. 4Jace has quite literally 1 HP and somehow stayed alive. Huskerrs loses his life. I think that was just a bit of needing to full send and help out his teammates. I think he expected Scumman or whoever it was down below to grab that elimination, no problem, and it took them a little bit longer than it should have, and Huskerrs lost his life because of it. Honestly, that's one of those moments. This is a trio that has played together for an incredible amount of time, and as we see... Huskerrs having a tough go of it. Look, I was going to say, this team has played together for an insane amount of time. They need an IGL. I don't know who is supposed to be the IGL there. Huskerrs falls in the gulag. Something's not clicking out of nowhere, even after a strong second map. Now, Unrational's answered back, but it's not going to be enough. They don't have the players for this fight, Katie. They lose nearly every single person. It's just 4Jace left alive, and that's just a missed opportunity.
A missed opportunity, and well, now you're going up against noobs on the other side of this. Two players who have fought against each other since the very beginning in Verdansk, and now in a 1v1 situation, who can get out? Nice angle here from Unrational. Doesn't find too much information from it, but will start that rotation around the left side. Doesn't go for the dangerous heady, but does get the snapshot indicator. No surprise that that's where noobs is, behind that box. So very powerful, but does get caught out, isn't able to get first shots in. To see how he decides to play this. Just slowly creeping forward, gets the shots, connects with some, but it's noobs that decides to push it, flies out. Unrational, not able to counter that, and well, noobs gets the best of him.
He was not happy about that loss. I also got to say, I think a lot of these players have been playing the CDL ranked playlist, right?
Yes.
They've been playing the ranked multiplayer a ton. Their snaking skills have dramatically improved since the last tournament I saw and cast it over a couple months ago in the customs category at the very least. You could tell that was expert level snaking. Unfortunately, just couldn't get the better of noobs who had the high ground position, nice heady spot, and connected with headshots on his way down. There's not much you can do about that if you're Unrational. So unfortunate. We'll see if they're able to regain. That is the team in second place. That is down to, I believe, just Jace. On the other side, this was the team that unfortunately lost 2 in the gulag earlier. This is Team Smixy with Wiz and Echo, the only 2 alive on their team right now, and they're in a very precarious rotation. However, there's another team doing the exact same, and that's a free devious lick on the side. They're going to grab those resources and keep moving on their merry way. That feels good.
Yeah, that's got to feel. Sometimes you're given a little bit of a blessing when you're in a tough spot, unless you get trapped in the storm for longer than you mean to. Echo knows someone's nearby, going to have to be careful, does not have the advanced gas mask for that extra duration, and we'll start ticking here in about a second. Smixy with some of those call-outs to be cautious, doesn't spot anyone, and will have to work his way out from the storm. We'll be just fine, but we'll eat up about a plate's worth of damage. As we get into this next area, you can see that car up ahead. Someone's still there, and well, this is the reason why you waited in the storm for so long. IQ gets the shots in, and you can see not too happy with how that death went down, and Wiz now on their own. Very crucial to try and stay alive, hit this regain. As well, you're facing potential full elimination from map 3 if you fall.
And again, we're in placement points, but it's 1 point. So not too much to write home about, but at least 1 point in games, tournaments can certainly come down to 1. Wiz down to 1 as he's the only player left alive on his squad and finds one out in the open, goes for the challenge and loses it pretty quickly. Not much you can do about that. There's a couple people shooting down lane against you. So we swing over to TBE's perspective. All 4 alive, Katie, Tommy, Allman, Noobs, and their 4th. Limax, an underrated Australian player who's been putting up great numbers recently. A great 4th player pickup for one of the most prolific trios in Warzone history. And as we come into what we can call the in-game finale, this is the lowest amount of teams we've had as the 5th circle begins to close yet. As seemingly some of the other teams have played more aggressive early and were paid dearly for it, rather. Good, well, I would say a decent spot for TBE. They've got a high ground position overlooking some cover, but they aren't in zone yet, and likely there's other teams already in the zone waiting for them.
And this is the best game we've seen out of them thus far, and they're in desperate need of it. Currently in 22nd place with a total of 18 points over the first 2 maps. So this is where you have to be able to get those high numbers. You have to be able to get, ideally, you said it, maybe within the 20 kill range on top of that good placement. So if they can do that, they'll be in a good spot. I think, maybe about 7 eliminations between Tommy and Almond. Not sure what's happening with Limax and Noobs, but a good map for them. We'll see if they can turn it into a great one.
Yeah, they're about to breach the top 10 overall teams. They do have high ground on the edge of zone, so they can spot out and get a ton of information. If they get a few knocks here, that's even better. But at the very least, they know where these teams are. The question is information enough power to stay alive? They've lost Tom. No, just kidding. They've lost Noobs. Tom is about to be lost if he doesn't get some plates hit him. And now here comes the rotation that I was worried about. High ground leads into the low ground, which usually means you're not going to come out on top. Almond very low, but able to stay alive with these tiny rock formations to work with. All it takes is one team, third party, from distance, especially if you've got a sniper, to knock some of these players out. And, well, there's those shots I was talking about.
There are those shots, and keep in mind as well, Almond only has a plate and a half left. Nothing else in the reserve. Tommy maybe trying to provide some cover. Spots one in the distance. We'll tag it for the rest of the team, but this is going to be tough. Can Almond get to safety? Can Tommy provide any sort of cover? And is there a team outside of this one across the way that they've been focusing on for some time now, really since we went to their POV, that's going to provide some sort of distraction and or third party? Could help them, could hurt them. We'll have to wait and see, but losing Noobs going to be tough, especially considering Tommy no plates either, not a lot of utility. They have the cash, no buy station for them to be able to top up on what they need. But now it flies in. Limax gets down, taken out. Just Almond and Tommy remaining. Almond falls. Tommy has no armor, and it is going to be a wipe. Eliminated by Believe's team. Taken down. What is maybe going to be their best map of the day. Still not good enough. TBE's team looking solid until that high ground positioning ended up working against them.
Yeah, Almond maybe last alive. I think we... Will we see him fall? No, I thought we were back in time here. But I think Almond is still up. I might have misread the earlier fight. We'll see. Able to find one out in the open. No, there is the elimination. So TBE is fully out of it. That was Clamp on the other side. Destroy's team still up. This is a team inside the top 5. So this is a team to watch out for. And they've got a sizable amount of eliminations. At least that's what it looks like. A decent position, but look at the zone pull, Katie. This is what I was talking about before with TBE squad. It was a good position, not a great position, and they paid for it. Made it the top 10, but they didn't get as far as they would have liked to. This time, instead of, I believe, Xenon and Zlaner, it's Destroy and Zlaner, and a long-time duo with plenty of resources to write home about, it seems. Crossing with the smoke. This is the classic strategy. There's one out in the open in the smoke. Hard to see, but a nice cleanup and a trade. Destroy goes down, but he's got the self-revive, and he says, Z, keep going. You got to get to the zone. I'm going to follow up. Clear a pathway for me if you can.
That pathway is going to be tricky. You can see those smokes going out. Will provide cover to get to the boxes up front, but it's not going to be enough to actually get you into the zone. Say, Destroy, no more left. Only Semtexes to use as they have to push up and around this rock formation, and that's going to be tough. Zlaner falls. Destroy, the last one remaining, gets the shots. A nice down onto IQ. Could provide the cover for Zlaner to regain. Gets back up, but now Destroy in trouble, forced to back off, using everything he can for cover. Zlaner falls. Destroy not far behind, but a 5th place finish does mean 2 extra placement points for them than if they'd gone out in 6th. So at least they have that as a little bit of a consolation.
Well, we got to see who's left. It looks like only 2 players left, or excuse me, 2 teams left alive, 7 players, and one of the teams is Nick Cool, Picnic, and Ryda. Seeing it from Destroy's perspective, they've lost basically everyone, and we move on to the next player that we can spectate. A team at the top, 3 players parachuting off the top, likely will win this, and I believe Ryda's squad will be eliminated at the end of the day. The question is how many eliminations and who is left. I can't tell who won it. Is it even over? I think it is. I have no idea, Katie, but what a way to finish map number 3.
Stay tuned for the winner of map 3 after this break. We'll find out here in just a moment what exactly. There we go. I think we finally get, Krinks, our answer on who came out on top. Junior, a lot of those Omit names you're going to see all over the place. Omit having so much success. Chrissy as well on this team, finding their way into that map 3 victory. We are officially halfway done with the tournament. We'll see how those scores continue to mount up for these players, Goj. But that was a tough ending. I don't really know what Zlaner's team could have done to have